And we're live. Hello and welcome along today. I'm Stuart Harris. I'm the host of the show, and the show is Biz TV Online. And it's great to have you here because I really believe I've got an exciting show for you today. I've got a guest who I'm really keen to talk to. I've been excited about. I finally managed to track him down, and it's great because it's going to be good hangout and good information for everyone watching in. If you are watching in today, by all means, just pop in the comments below where you're coming in from, who you are, and maybe if you've got a question for us, because we're talking about a subject today that is probably a little bit not touchable, not tangible. And hopefully we can change that around and make that seem like it's something you can get a grasp on by the end of this hangout. And we're really talking about change, but not change as we know it. We're talking about something that's fundamental, but also subtle. It's impactful, and it creeps up around us. And perhaps to epitomise the sort of change that maybe we're trying to get through here, and what we're trying to connect with, is summed up in our title. Maybe not, because I really battled with the title, but here's what it is. What really stimulates your connections today, and why you need to get the hell out of the way. And hopefully we can get some real content going here that will help you define exactly what it is you need to do in the current environment, which is really, it's hard to connect with. We'll be talking about how your approach to market might not be the right one, and how you could be wasting your resources, wasting your time, and of course not getting across the line in many instances. We're going to be talking about how to reconnect and tune into the workplace, or the commercial workplace, and what's going to help you connect to that space and get ahead in terms of who you're competing against across the board. And we're also going to be looking at maybe 3 vital processes that's going to put some worthiness back into that connection process. I'm really excited about our guest. I'm going to just do a quick little spiel as an introduction, because there's so much about this gentleman that I could go on the whole hangout talking about, and I'm not going to do that. But look, right at the age of 8, this gentleman had started his first business. And by the 19, he had a legitimised commercial business, fully functioning. He was self-employed. I think he sold that business at the age of 26, but he's been involved with doing this very early on in his career. In this process, he had to deal with a lot of his own fears, and most of that fear was the fear of success. And this is an element that a lot of people probably have in their lives but don't connect with very well. We think about the fear of failure, but the fear of success is just as damaging. And he blew this out, and he blew this out in a number of ways. He's won some major sports events. He's been a winner in a motocross championship. He blew out top executive in one of the roles as an executive for a telco in the United States, one of the biggest telcos. And look, he's studied deep into human performance, personal development, and of course managing fears, which we've already talked about. He's one of the founding members of the Association of Transformational Leaders, and right now he's going deeper again. We've got some really massive stuff coming through from this gentleman. I'm really pleased and excited to introduce Brad Axelrad. Welcome along, Brad. Good to see you here.
So great to be here, my friend.
And look, I've already said it, but I'm really pleased that we've managed to make this connection, because I've been looking for this for a while. We've been talking on and off for a fair bit, and now we've brought it together, and I really appreciate you coming along. Now, I'm coming to you from the Gold Coast in Australia, so that's on the East Coast, and this is one of the beauties of the Hangout technology that we've got here today. But Brad, you're coming in from Boulder, Colorado, and perhaps you could tell us about what it's like there right now, and what you do and how it's important for our viewers.
Wow, I mean, I literally live in the most magical place I've ever seen, let alone able to rest my head and rejuvenate with sleep. I'm 4 miles up a canyon, down from downtown downtown Boulder, which is magical all on its own. But I live on a creek, and there were major floods last year, and man, it was scary to watch the waters rise, and they evacuated most of this canyon. But I decided to stay with the power out for almost 4 days in this cabin to really experience what it was like to how can I say? I mean, it definitely wasn't like caveman, but I had this gorgeous cabin, but with no electricity and just propane. So I was able to cook my food, but really get in amongst the earth and experience what was most meaningful, and really let go of all the other things that I've been thinking were going to provide any sense of happiness or help overcome fear or create love in my life, and just vibrating here, just feeling the earth at this vortex that Boulder is I mean, it's ineffable. I'm trying to explain it, and I think I did okay.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I just want to be there right now. I love the open. I love that environment, and really connect with being outdoors as well. So I got the picture, and I'm sure our viewers got the picture too. Tell us about who you are and what you're doing in the world today.
Yeah, so that's it's changed a lot in the last couple of years. When I lived I've lived here a year, and when I lived in Southern California for 16 years, a lot of what I did was, like you mentioned, entrepreneurial. I've spent a lot of time in that space. Most of the deepest space has been, or time spent, has been in expanding my awareness and helping others expand theirs. So the way that started was my father died in October of 2005. I started a book study group on Ask and It Is Given, the teachings of Abraham, and that stuff is just so channeled. It's brilliant material. And within 8 weeks, this group got so much momentum and was reverberating out so powerfully that people were driving from hours away to come and study this material. And 8 weeks from the inception of that event, we had NBC Nightly News on. We were on national media. I was interviewed on PBS television for an hour. It aired out to 4 million people 2 times. USC came and did a piece on us. It was amazing to watch that vibration or that awareness creating everything that I desired. Of course, there's a lag time, like they talk about. I haven't talked about the law of attraction in a long time. I love this subject. It's been so long. I've kind of more been living it at this point. But from those events, it morphed into 200 live events with some of the biggest thought and business leaders on the planet that ultimately led to all these other things, and me becoming a founding member of the Association of Transformational Leaders, like with Don Miguel Ruiz and Jack Canfield and John Gray and Mari Smith and so many other intricate, beautiful people. Marsha Weeder, I mean, just amazing and beaming souls. So now, one of my main intentions to come to this move to the mountains was to really drop into this opportunity to have all of this energy to tap into, to build my platform out, more of my platform. And that platform is really about helping people face their dragon so they can go out and share their message or live their purpose. So we all have these fire-breathing dragons that are staring at us, testing us, wanting us to stand in the fire. And are we powerful enough to stand and really feel the heat and continue on our path or our journey? And that's really what I've been living my entire life. I've both carried and pushed and thrown people into that same path, sometimes softly, other times forcefully. And that's my commitment now, is to just define that vein of supporting individuals to follow their path and really step into it powerfully. And when they do that, they face, as what Gay Hendricks says, upper limits, fear of success along the way, over and over and over, as we attain more media or more visibility or more income or more relationships or a better loving relationship or whatever. It's really intense, and we've got to move through those, systematically and strategically, as well as openly and lovingly. It's kind of this mixture of force and love, feminine, masculine, all the elements of the universe is really what I'm playing with.
Yeah, and look, it took me a long time to come to terms or come to grips with the fact that everyone's got these fires and dragons happening in their lives. Even people who you see as the most successful people on the planet have these things going on. And I didn't quite, I always looked at successful people and said, oh, they've got their stuff together and they're okay, but they don't. And you see, even today, people who are deemed successful going out and taking their lives. And we're in an age of transparency. You can't hide anymore. You're out there, and it's harder to get over the line. It's harder to get through. What are some of the problems and blocks that maybe some of your clients or some of the people that come to you have, and that you're able to resolve, Brad?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I mean, one of the major things, of course, in humanity is the fear of public speaking. It is the fear of public speaking, but it's underneath that. It's who am I to go out and share this message, and who am I when there's 500 other people who have been doing this longer or or are more articulate, like we joked about earlier. I mean, there's the Alex Mendozians of the world, which is where I think we met, right? Alex and I co-produced a Hangout together with 7 other thought leaders. It was incredible. We had so much fun, 2.5 hours, and yeah, so that fear of technology, like I always joke, like I'm afraid to get on a Hangout. Like, is my electricity going to go off right when this thing goes live, which can happen here in the mountains? Will my internet go down? So there's all these fears of, what if I don't have the words to say? What if, who am I to say it? And we all shrink, and I can't charge those fees. I mean, one of the first exercises I do with my clients is say, all right, well, how much do you charge per hour, even though we don't normally structure their business that way? How much do you charge an hour? And they go, 40? And I say, okay. What happens if I say 140? And they go, well, that sounds okay. What about 250? They kind of, I don't know. What about 500? No, okay. 300? Yeah, 275. Oh, that feels great. Okay, great. So now you're going to charge 275. Like, the point is, I mean, not everybody's ready to charge those fees, but you get my point. I'm busting paradigms of self-worth all over the place, using many different modalities, using spirit, using Hoffman process. I was a graduate facilitator leader there for a couple years in Southern California, so I've kind of taken little bits and pieces from there. I'm also NLP certified, but I don't rarely use a lot of these. I kind of meld them all together and just pinpoint what that main fear is and get to the bottom of the fear, because oftentimes it's masked as fear of charging high fees, a fear of not good enough, a fear of technology. It's more like fear of doing it wrong, or my mommy or daddy said that I'm dumb. I mean, and we'll get to the bottom of that, in the back of it, in the center of it, really just move that through so we can get you out there sharing your deepest hearts. Like, it's thriving in you, but there's all this stuff in front of it, and I'm guilty of it too. But this last week I spent studying human design with a Shaw magician friend of mine. He doesn't call himself a shaman anymore. He calls himself a Shaw magician now. And yeah, a lot of that stuff's just been obliterated. Any of the duality's gone. So
yeah, and look, it's a difficult world, Brad, because sense of worth is so hard to determine, and everybody's got this stuff going on in their mind. They say, I can't do that because of this, and I'm not at that level because of that, and these people that charge there are up here, and unfortunately, they're not connecting with the fact that they have some value, and the value's deep inside, and they just need to allow that to surface. I just want to come back to the fact that in today's world, there's just nowhere to hide. You're out there, you're exposed. What else is different about our world, and why are we unable to sell ourselves the way we used to? There's a real challenge to get it across the line there.
Yeah, let's split that up in 2 questions. So the first is authenticity and transparency and relevance. Art is what I've labeled that as. And the second one is, actually I kind of forgot the second piece, so bring me back to that second one. We'll talk about this.
So how are we? Why are we unable to sell ourselves? We just don't seem to be able to connect and make it work.
That's right. So you know, as Michael Drew talks about in the Pendulum, which Michael's my mentor and consultant and just a very dear friend, and you know what's happening nowadays is that we've got to be so raw and vulnerable that we're believable, because the shiny bullshit that was out there for the longest time, that was, you know, the buttoned up suit, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wore a suit and tie at 150 of my live events. That's just where we were, and I still will wear a suit and tie. But what comes along with that is it sort of creates this separatism, and it's good, it's professional, I still appreciate that. But what's more real, like, you even can just watch MTV or, you know, Frank Kern or any of these other guys, and they're just hanging out. They're like drinking beer and they're filming. So there's just a calmness and a realness that resonates. But what I think there's something deeper than that, and that's having the courage to be all of you and to express your fears openly, so that I can help you, others can help you go out and live what you're trying to actually live. So if we're in denial in any shape or form, we're completely cutting off ourselves from the opportunity of the universe. You just immediately put this barrier around you, and yes, you can do spirituality, you can do goddess, you can do feminine, you can do masculine, you can do whatever it is you're doing, you can do business, but there's incongruency there, and that incongruency is just gonna make it take longer. It's gonna be more stressful. You're going to have this fantasy that you can do it all alone, when we're now in the age, the civic cycle that Michael talks about, which is all about community. It's about collaboration. It's about having the willingness to allow others to help you and to be coachable. And I thought it was so beautiful. I had an experience with somebody who I love dearly that actually said I was uncoachable. And I really was not hurt by that, but I had to check in with that and say, is it that I'm not coachable? Like, what is it really? And I realized it was that I'm uncontrollable. I'm extremely coachable. I'll resist like crazy, which is our natural state of being. Our ego or whatever wants to cling on. But the distinction, you guys, that I want to get across is that nobody wants to be controlled. So it's a matter of guiding and being raw and real raw and relevant, as Michael says, and being open so that people can feel your pliability. They can feel your accessibility. They can feel your heart. And I'm not using any of these as strategies or tactics. This is just our natural state of being. So my whole thrust is to get people, thought leaders, other thought leaders, change agents, to understand what it feels like to step fully into that aspect of themselves and remove these small little pieces of themselves that aren't real.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really appreciate the fact you've brought up Michael Drew and of course his book The Pendulum, and you know what's happening right now over in Europe is they're commemorating D-Day, and D-Day represented a major shift in the outcomes of World War II, and so that was something significant. But what was happening at the same time was there was a major shift in these 20-year cycles that Michael talks about, and they were transitioning from the civic to the adaptive. And I look at what's happening now and what's happening back then, and there's very distinct similarities. You know, they had the Great Depression, we've had the GFC, they had the war, the massive war. We've had the war on you know, the terrorists, the war on extremist militia, and of course this ongoing thing with the Arab Spring. So there's these great bulk events that happen in a civic era that are happening right now. And of course the other major event that's occurring right now is the development of social media, and social media, whilst people have polarizing opinions about it, is here to stay. It's creating a word of mouth that's at lightning speed, and it's having big impacts on the way we work, how commerce works, how we interact, how we go about our daily lives. in terms of that, what are some of the attributes we've got to look at today more and more to help us get over the line in terms of, you know, becoming effective, becoming worthy participants in the current workplace, in the current commercial system?
Oh, you're so right. I mean, social media is the biggest thing that's happened to the world, in my opinion. It's immediate conversation and communication to shift and sway and change everything we're doing in an instant. I mean, we've been kept asleep until then. You know, like they say in the movie The Secret, they kept the secret asleep. Well, they've simply kept communication asleep. Not somewhat by design, of course by design, but not entirely. I mean, its time is here. So, you know, the great thing about social media is that we have this, right as the economy's collapsed, the world economy's collapsed, and people's marketing budgets and everything else disappeared, social media was on the rise. So there was this convergence or divergence, this opportunity for us to take advantage of, you know, free to almost free marketing. So there's that beautiful side of things. But in social media, like, I first got on there thinking, I don't want to post, this is going to sound really bad, but I don't want to post when I went to the bathroom and took a poo. Like, I don't care who knows about that. Like, I don't want to know when you went and had a sandwich or did that. Like, this is silly. And then I got on MySpace, and I started connecting with people. I connected with a dear friend of mine in Costa Rica. My dad had just passed. My dad was big into whales and dolphins. He's like totally channeling through me, creating this opportunity to meet this gal who does whale and dolphin tours in Costa Rica. She's one of, like, maybe one of two people I still stay in touch with from MySpace. And it was just miraculous. So, I mean, the miracles are at our fingertips for us to tap into these things if we're open and ready to receive them. A lot of the things we need to do are remove the blocks for our fear of success or our fear of adventure or our fear of technology, whatever the fears are. I have a long list of all of them. And utilize social media by sharing our authentic self. When I'm struggling, I share my struggles. When I'm winning, I share my wins. You guys should go look at my wall from, you know, the last couple days. So the beginning of June 2014 until June 6th today. You'll see this major swing of where I was struggling and frustrated and told I was uncoachable and just like it was killing me. Yeah. And able to weave that into this new experience, which is absolute clarity, and hopefully one or many were served by those posts. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And Brad, I also think that, you know, because we are in this civic era, and I know people probably can't relate to that term very well unless they've read the book The Pendulum. But it is, as you mentioned previously, about connection, about collaboration, about participation, togetherness, and that's what social media is doing. Is it is providing that platform to engender is perhaps the word. You know, the way we should be operating in this world today, in this environment, in this societal change that's occurring all around us that we really can't touch. We know it's there, but we don't really have a feeling for. And you know, when you look at what we're doing now, Google Hangout, really that's an extension of that process. You know, it's moved up another level from, you know, just a quick chat on Facebook or a quick chat on MySpace to a real live visible chat where you and I are talking. Other people can see us talking, and you know, if we took this to the next level, we would also have other people coming in and talking to us. So
it's free.
Yeah, it's where we are today. But I think one of the attributes, or some of the attributes that people need to connect into is you got to get on board. You know, it's not a place where you can say, "Oh, I'm worried about privacy," or "I'm worried about this." You can manage that, but unless you're on board in this this new game, you're going to get left behind, and it's not as if it's a big difficult thing. You just have to manage these processes better. technology is rewriting the rules. What are some of the things that we must embrace to participate effectively right now in this environment, Brad?
You said that technology is changing the rules. Okay. Well, I mean, I wanted, this came up a minute ago when you were talking. You know, the live events back in the day, this was, when was I doing them? 2007 through 2010, 2006 through 2010. And actually, and beyond. I did a couple events after that. And, you know, you could see how it was changing in the meat of those live events. I mean, the last live event I did was at the Westin Long Beach. We had hundreds of people. I had, you know, Michael Gerber of E-Myth. We had Allie Brown. We had Michael Drew, Greg Reed, Mickey Willis of Elevate Films. I mean, all these big players. But we could feel into the difference that the event space was changing. It was like, obviously we knew that. It was 2010. I tried to buck the system. I still did pretty well, considering how people were going to produce 8,000 or 800 or 900 person events, and there would be like 62 people that would show up. So when we had 200 people there, I was expecting almost 500, so we didn't do as good as we thought. But the point is that you could just see in everybody's face and in their energy that live events were dying and changing. And that whole industry of putting together live events and making $1 million in 2 days just from putting speakers on the stage with them selling their wares, that was done. And you know, and then sort of what came next was telesummits, you know, and those have gotten really big, and there's just a telesummits all over the place, and you know, some people I know won't even go on them. They're like, I just will not do another telesummit. They're trying to get my list, and there's no benefit for me on it. It's a big list building exercise, which of course it is, that and more. And then it's, you know, it shifted to, of course there were always webinars and things like that, but, you know, being really close with Alex Mendozian and having a lot of conversations with Alex, and just seeing him a couple weeks ago here in Colorado, you know, I watch him closely and watch him win and watch him struggle, and, you know, and he's the Jedi when it comes to being the leading edge of any sort of technology amplifier or megaphone. I mean, he's it. And so, you know, he did the Hangout Marketing Challenge, which, of course, I had a mega summit. I was one of 3 people out of hundreds of Hangouts, and we did a mega Hangout. And, you know, I think we had a couple hundred people on it. You know, back in the day, Alex would have probably put 5,000 or 20,000 on something like that. So I mean, it's definitely changed. The landscape has changed. It's really about connecting. You know, you watch some other folks, Kevin Nations, a lot of other people that make many millions of dollars, very small groups, high fees, very intimate, and you know, technology isn't even really in that strategy or tactic. So many ways to skin the cat. You know, I'm building out many different funnels based on Michael Drew's philosophy and technology. That's going to be a game changer. I mean, what we've been putting together over the last several months is just, it's amazing. So having that skill set and understanding how to weave technology in using what he calls persona architecture, which my intention is to become certified and or license the material enough to really integrate it deeply into all the stuff that I'm doing with my members and clients, with a different approach, all my different nuances. But the point is that there's opportunity in technology. You can't broadcast it. It needs to be polling, like he talks about. You got to pull it in. So that's the big shift. No, the push marketing megaphone, whoever has the biggest marketing budget wins, that's done.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree, and I've seen that happening here in Australia too. You know, that whole scene changed dramatically, and you can see some of some of the speakers and some of the people holding events, you know, really struggling to come to terms with this, modifying their game, getting smaller audiences,
yep.
You know, getting mixed results, and definitely I can relate to that. We're just going to run through. I'm talking to Brad Axelrad. We're talking about change in the world and how we need to manage this and you know, deliver slight modifications to what we need to do so that we become more pertinent, more worthy, more aligned is probably a good word. And Brad's raised the point that nobody wants to be controlled, and this is symptomatic of the era we're in. We're looking for uniformity, but we don't want to have somebody telling us that this is the way it's going to be. We're in a space where social media is here and now. You need to get on board because it's a platform. It's like the telephone. When the telephone came, eventually we all started to use it. So social media is the engagement, the talking platform. You got to use it. It's here and now. We've talked about making an alignment and getting a shared perspective. This is critical, particularly in this era. If you understand the era, it's about connection, collaboration, and working together, and about having engagement. And this is probably the most important word you could absorb from the Hangout today. I want to ask Brad, we want to give our viewers something to take away today, and I thought that we could perhaps give them 2 or 3 nuggets that would really be useful for them in terms of dealing with what they're encountering in the marketplace. And some of these may be consistent with Michael's TED Talk recently, because I know he pumped out a few there, but are you able to give us perhaps 2 or 3 real gems that people can use right now that's going to make a difference for them?
Yeah, I'm just turning on my lower third. I realized I forgot to have that on there, Stuart. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can, and I apologize too, Brad, because I probably should have.
Yeah, I totally spaced it, so it's on now. It doesn't have. Let me put the tagline in. So ask that question again.
Yeah, so looking at 3 useful takeaways that our audience can take away, that they can put in place, just a subtle shift to make sure that they're relevant, that they're in the space for what's happening in the world today.
Great. So 3 takeaways. First of all, I would say being absolutely transparent in all that you are and do. I mean, that is the biggest thing. Be courageous and stand in what you believe in, but more than what you believe in, it's more what transformation you want to bring to the world, and don't hold back. You're going to hit all these barriers. I mean, I can help you work through them, but do not allow whatever it is that's keeping you stuck from being, all of you, fully transparent. Like Alexis Neely, a dear friend of mine, that woman is everything always. She just bears it all. And that's a little extreme even for me. And the irony is my parents were nudists. I grew up around nudists. I'm not a nudist really, but so be nude in who you are, and have the courage to express your likes and your dislikes and your cares and weep. I mean, whatever makes you weep, just be all of it. There's no pretending anymore. So just be all of yourself. I mean, that's what works. That's what people want. That's what they're begging to be themselves. And if you can be that courageous leader in full transparency, the world is a big playground. Yeah.
Absolutely. Another one I've got here is review and evaluate your point of difference. So look inside. Have a look at what you've been in the past. Have a look at some of the knowledge that you have, and look if you're looking for a bit of a connection to what it is in your life that you have purpose with, or even to just find your purpose. You can go to this address here, stuartharris.net/purpose. There's a really good book written by me, The 7 Steps to Find Your Life Purpose, and reevaluate and bring a point of difference back into what you're doing. And if you line that up with what Brad's just talked about by being transparent, and being as he says, totally nude to the world. Not nude physically, but nude in the yeah.
Well, maybe physically, if you've got the guts enough to do it, why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are we advocating here? Bring those together. And one more, Brad, if you've got another nugget there that perhaps we could share with our audience.
Yeah, I mean, I would say stop chasing the dragon. So the other aspect of the platform I'm building, so there's facing your dragon and then chasing your dragon, and the dragon chasing shows up in many ways. And what that looks like is, I was a former semi-professional motocross racer. I've done a lot of drugs and alcohol and chased a lot of women. I've done all these things to try to find some sense of joy and relief, and you're just chasing this bottomless pit. I think it comes, chasing your dragon comes from people using morphine, if I remember right. But anyway, the point is, if you can stand in the gap of discomfort from the old new to the new you, or the old business to the new business, or the old website to the new website, like any of these elements, like whatever you can do to stand in that space and just sit and really feel it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and have the courage to be sort of massaging it through. I mean, that's really the key, because we want to hurry and run and get to the other side too fast sometimes, and we both leave a wake behind us, a ripple effect of other people. So as Covey calls it, efficient versus effective, right? So when we're moving gracefully and in the flow and in your flow, and standing in the gap and not allowing distractions to get in the way from you really tapping into something that's far deeper than you could ever imagine. I mean, that's the key to life. I've really gotten that living here in the last year. That's it. I'll share a little bit more transparently. I've been celibate. Some may not call it celibacy, but I've been celibate for 22 months now, and that's been so incredibly empowering, because I'm not distracting myself with other things, whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah. And look, distractions is one of the killers of what it is we want to do, especially if we have a project, an objective, goal. There's so much distraction. We can just seriously lose sight and lose track, and that's a life killer. It's so deadly in many respects, and I can't emphasize that enough. So look, we've got some nuggets here to take away with you. Brad's been talking about be completely transparent. I think if he has his way, he'd want you to be completely nude, and I think
I'm not a nudist.
No, I'm only. He doesn't want you to be completely nude, but he wants you to be who you are and let the world see. And that's the key point. Be transparent so that people can identify with you, not somebody you want them to see, the real you. We also want to help you to find your purpose. Finding your purpose will have a big difference. Will change the game for you. Brad talks about stop chasing your dragons. They're there. You know they're there. Identify them. Put them on a piece of paper and say, these are my real dragons, and deal to them. And I'm going to give you Brad's website in a minute. He's got some really good stuff there, both in his blog and also in his free content. So you can go there and get some material about facing those dragons, because Brad has done a lot of work in this regard. And finally, just be authentic. Be just as you've seen us in this hangout. We're just coming out the way we are, and that's authenticness. That's hangouts. That's the world today. Brad, can you tell us a little bit about some of the work that's coming up that you're going to be releasing, and where people can go to find it?
Yeah, so BradAxelrad.com, where, like I'd mentioned, Michael Drew and I and team are in the middle of a very big sort of retooling and relaunching, and we're putting together really neat products. You know, the one that's most exciting to me will be an excursion to Costa Rica that's going to include. I mean, I wish I could share some of these things, but a lot of human design will be integrated into that. Richard Learmont's going to be joining in that process, and you know, adventure tour, really facing your dragons, exploring dragons, and then riding them is really what we're going to be doing. So a lot of things that will be exciting and fun and scary and transformational, both internally and externally. So the internal transformation comes from the work we're going to do, but the external transformation is going to come from helping you define your message and define what you stand against and what you're committed to, and then build a very virtues-based platform for yourself. So, you know, more of that to come shortly. We're really close to having a lot of that launch, but all different elements of products inside of those funnels. I mean, Michael's a magician in creating extremely high converting product funnels and websites. So yeah, the cool thing is a lot of that I get to help with all of my clients too.
It's sounding really good, and you know, I'm going to be watching very closely because I'm quite intrigued by Michael's work, and I've enjoyed watching you, Brad, and all the work that we've been encountering, particularly in and around Alex Mendosian's Hangout series. So I'm going to be watching very closely. I'm really keen on Costa Rica. I'd love to go there. I haven't been there yet, so that's something that you know, could be on my radar as well. BradAxelrad.com is where you need to go. Just plug in there. Not everything's available right now that he's just been talking about, but you will get notified of it. And you know, go and search around, have a look around his website. There's some real good stuff there. And this connection with Michael Drew is definitely something that you want to observe. It's about what we've been talking about today, but it's about, you know, the global concept of what really is going down. And once you get that, you get to understand what you need to do in the marketplace. Brad, can I come back to you? Have you got a final word that you can perhaps offer everyone right now before we close out?
Presence.
And I'm going to reiterate engagement. I've really had a good hangout today. Thank you very, very much, Brad Axelrad, for coming along. As I said, I've been waiting for this for so long. It's happened. I'm so happy. I really appreciate your contribution and giving me your time today.
Likewise, Stuart. I'm honored, my friend. I've just been so impressed with the way we've been sort of coaching and mentoring each other through this process, and I look forward to more, whatever that looks like. So thank you, everybody else. I'm grateful you will listen to what we have to say. That was definitely one of my fears a long time ago. It's like, who cares about what I'm saying? And maybe you don't, but that's okay now.
And that's okay. And I hope everybody watching goes out and takes some nugget from here and puts it into practice. Thank you very, very much, and we'll see you again on the next Hangout. I'm Stuart Harris, closing out now.